So today we have a special guest. You may know him as the CMOS man, but I know him as the energy, the soul, and the real guy in the room. This is Alan. Alan, what's it like? What's it like being you?
There's never a boring moment. Being me is really complicated, but at the same time, it's also quite simple. I do a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a CMOS business. I'm a DJ. I work in educational establishments with young kids that find it hard to engage. I help them using music and DJing. I'm also very much into fitness, MMA,
Easy.
running. I like to just be out of my comfort zone, and I like to make my dreams a reality. But when you do a lot of things, it's easy to be like a jack of all trade and a master of none. So I think recently I've learned how to focus, hyper focus, and know the difference between hyper focusing and scatter focusing, and just apply my time so that whenever I'm focusing on something, I'm focusing on that one thing to completion before I move on to the next thing, as opposed to half doing everything.
Yeah.
And this is the space that I'm in right now, where I feel like I've got that discipline and that focus, and I'm managing my time better than I ever have. So yeah, it's complicated, but I found a way to simplify it, because I've learned how to understand how I operate, how my brain works.
How important is that for you, understanding how to operate your brain? How important was it for you? Was there like chaos at a point, or was it?
Well, I think chaos and order is like it's a relationship, innit? And like any relationship, if you have a relationship with a woman, you have to understand the interactions and the dynamics of that relationship so that the relationship can be harmonious. I think when it comes to order and chaos, depending on who you are and what you're willing to do, that relationship can be harmonious or it can be disharmonious. So before, when I was talking about hyper focus and scatter focus, I was currently reading this book, and it was talking about human beings. Like, we have the ability to hyper focus. Hyper focus is about focusing on a specific task,
Getting it done.
Yeah, getting it done. Whether it's an essay or you got to write a business plan, and you might not get an immediate reward from it, but you know it's got to be done.
Yeah, got to be.
You focus on it. You rid yourself of all distractions, and it's tunnel vision. I've got to get this done, and that's really good for doing things like technically, things that are hard to do, things that are necessary to do. But then there's scatter focus, and scatter focus is about not zoning in and zooming in. Hyper focus is zooming in. Scatter focus is zooming out.
Okay.
And like almost looking at your internal world.
From a bird's eye view.
Yeah, or even just looking at the whole space of it, and allowing yourself to explore and wonder, and allowing yourself to be distracted. Because when you do that, that's where the creativity comes from. That's where you get like a eureka moment, or you get like an amazing idea, or something incredible can happen. But the two can't coexist in the same space. You can't hyper focus and be scatter focused, because they just they're in conflict with each other. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of us try to do. Like, you go to the library and you're trying to focus on a business plan. You might see a nice gal walk past, and you look at her, and then you look at your phone, and now you're distracted. Then it takes you half an hour to focus back.
Yeah.
So I think I've understood now, especially being a producer, when I'm just making the music or I'm just being creative, I allow my brain to wander. But then once I've found the thing, now it's time to be technical.
Yeah.
So I find time to be creative, and scatter focus, and time to hyper focus and zone in. And I've separated those two things.
So you understand the importance of having both?
100%. You need both.
Yeah.
It's a relationship. It's like left and right foot. You can't walk if your left and right foot ain't working in harmony.
It's going to be very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
That's massive, that is. But when did you realise that?
I kind of
Because one of the things on here is when we speak with people, like we want to make sure that we can take as much knowledge from them and their experience,
yeah.
so that the viewers can just apply it straight away.
I think I just realized it through. I'm 38 years old, innit? So through making a lot of mistakes, and not settling for the results of making all of those mistakes, being able to, I spend a lot of time with myself. You know, there's a saying that goes like, silence is the fence around wisdom. And I feel like, especially in this day and age with social media and so much distractions and
Going on.
dopamine, a lot of people are scared of the loudness of their own silence. It's scary to them. Every time we're faced with ourselves, we're gonna get out of that situation and find a distraction or find something to take us away from ourselves. But you can't run away from yourself.
Can't run away.
Now, you can't run away from yourself. And I think I'm a person who, you know, before lockdown, but more so in lockdown, realized that whatever relationship I have with a friend, a woman, family, or even work, if I haven't established a harmonious and good working relationship with myself, then all of those other things are futile, because it's going to bring you back to what you're lacking within yourself, because every relationship is a mirror. So I think I realized that, you know what, in order for me to achieve my dreams, and I have many of them, the first thing I need to do is have a very, very good relationship with myself. So anything I allow in my life is either a bonus or it's not happening. Do you know what I mean? I ain't got time for it. Do you know what I mean? And I think in that process, it was like, okay, so why is this happening? If you're getting a result that's not good for you or it's not working for you, it's about going into that solo, that place where you're by yourself and analyzing, why is this happening? What can I do to improve it? And once you've identified what you need to do to improve it, then apply it. But go out there and also get the help to do it. I'm not afraid of asking for help now. Before I was like, I've got to do it all by myself. Once you figured it out by yourself, then you go out and connect with the world and find the tools that you need to evolve and elevate. You get me?
That's what's massive. That is absolutely massive. Like, rewinding a little bit, because I feel like there's so much powerful stuff that you're coming out with. I really don't want to skip past it.
Yeah, respect. I waffle. I don't waffle, but sometimes my brain goes like.
People who don't understand will say you waffle.
Yeah.
People who don't understand the language of wisdom will look past it. Like, there's a difference between fast food and good food. You're giving us today good food. So while we're having this good food, let's make sure that we're eating it.
Let's go, man.
Now, when we look at the power of being alone, some people get intimidated by that.
100%. It's scary.
And the reason why they're intimidated by it, because they're not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
What we have here is somebody who, at one point in life, it seems like you were scared of it.
Yeah, and of course.
But then you addressed it.
No, 100%. You know, like, I always, like, when I was sitting by myself, I actually realized that, you know, you can turn the light off, innit? But you can't turn the dark off. Do you know what I'm saying? The absence of light is darkness, but the absence of darkness, darkness is always there. So if you want to see your light, then you have to understand your darkness. Do you get me? You can't. If I get a torch and I shine it in the daytime, nobody cares, man.
Powerless.
It's when it's dark and you shine that torch and you see the brilliance of it. So one must understand their own darkness in order to do that. And to do that process it's a lot. And it's a lot for a lot of people. But you know what? Like, I watch a lot of anime. And, like, at 38 years old, I watch a lot of anime, and I don't watch anime because, you know, I'm immature or like, you know, he's too old to be watching anime. But actually, there's some concepts in anime that can actually help you to thrive. The concept of not giving up, the concept of facing your own darkness and finding your inner power, the concept of working and working, and even though you're getting defeated, it's working to find that one moment that will allow you to overcome everything. You know what I mean? And be reborn. And that's what I'm about when it comes to my relationship with my own darkness. Do you get me?
There's power in darkness.
100%.
And people run from that again.
Yeah.
Like, I look at life, and everyone who knows me will understand this specific thing I'm about to say. I look at life and I look at it as a training ground.
Yeah.
Every day, I have been given an opportunity to be tested, to be greater.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't run away from that.
No, you can't.
I run to it. And because I understand my own darkness, what I struggle with, and I'm not scared of doing the work, I understand that today I will grow that much more.
Yeah, 100%.
The day I wake up and I am not tested, then I'm complete. Like, my job's done, innit?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's like it's when we go to, if we want to try to, like, the way I think about darkness is also having a relationship with silence and space. So I think once you've got a relationship with silence and space, then you can really appreciate things and sound. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just taking it for granted. So I just find myself now, even in this conversation, being in this room, speaking to you, because I spend a lot of time by myself, I appreciate the energy. I don't take that for granted. Anything I hear, any advice, even just when I'm walking out in the morning and I hear a bird, you get me? I can appreciate that and its wholesomeness, because it's incredible, it's beautiful. And I think that's what happens. You know, like when you got those people who do those dark retreats and they stay for 3, I've never done it, but they'll stay for a whole day in darkness. And then when they open up their eyes, they'll start getting emotional and bawling, because they're like, oh my God, I never appreciated all of the beauty that was around me until it was taken away from me. You get me? So,
Massive.
Yeah.
Just want to let that really resonate. You know, we talk about good food.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot of good food.
Yeah.
So, as we dive into this podcast, like, this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness, and like, I'll be real, like, my social media feed ain't telling me nothing about it at all.
Yeah.
And I looked through my phone and I was thinking, the amount of men that I know that are suffering, that are messaging me every day.
Yeah.
I have to talk about it. And the beauty about talking about it is I have to talk about it with somebody who is willing to understand their own weakness and willing to work on it.
100%.
Because I can't talk about it with somebody who is just one-sided. Remember what you speak about hyper-focus, and the other bit of focus was?
Scatter focus.
See, that's the powerful bit.
Yeah.
So when I talk and communicate with yourself, Alan, I understand the person that's talking back. The person that's talking back is not someone who's just going to look at it like this. The person who's talking back is going to be able to come out of it, look at it for what it really is, and then hyper focus back into a specific point and come back out and do the exact same thing on another point.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your view on men's mental health?
It's a big question. By the way, I just need to say, like, my second name's Alan. It's Auden Alan.
Oh, Auden Alan.
Yeah. It's all good. Just got to tell the people then.
Let them know.
What's my view on men's mental health? I think it's such a big question that it's not really easy to just answer like that. It's like, which lane do we want to go down?
You know, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to just say this out, right? People don't care about men's mental health.
Yeah.
Black and white talking.
Yeah.
I've been in situations and people have literally, black and white, took their opinion from a situation.
Yeah.
And when I've asked them, I said, all the way through, you've not asked me how I felt.
I feel like the world has been raised to not know how to deal with men's mental health and emotions. When we raise our boy kids up and they cry and they express their emotions, we tell them, yo, man, just get up, man.
Yeah.
Like, stop crying. You're a big boy. Do you
Yeah.
get me? Stop crying. So I think that mentality is in all of us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it's right or I'm not sure whether it's wrong. I'm not sure.
Let me jump in there, okay? So I appreciate what you've just said. You've just said that, you know, in our black culture, I'll be real, in our black culture, I am...
In a lot of cultures, not just black, but...
In a lot of cultures then,
Yeah.
you know, I hear the fact of, just get on with it. Or, what are you crying about, yeah? But I also see actively people who would then go up to that young boy and be like, "Oh, is everything okay? Do you need me?" Do you not think that that's a part of supporting that child's mental health?
Yeah, but you know what it is like? It's so difficult because, you know, when we grow up as men and we have our families, you
Yeah.
know, and, you know, we have our wives and we have our children, you know, we have to be that backbone, that support and that grounding. So if wife is emotionally breaking down,
Yeah.
children are emotionally breaking down, we got to be strong and find a solution.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's why I say it's I'm not sure whether it's right or wrong that the world says, yo, get on with it. Because when we have families,
Yeah.
we have to be able to put our emotions to the side and find the solution and then deal with our emotions after. Like I've dealt with miscarriage before.
Yeah.
Do you get me? When you're dealing with a miscarriage, you can't be crying and bawling. You gotta take care of your woman.
Yeah.
She's going through it physically. She's going through a lot. Do you get me? So you've got to be there to support her. And then once you've done that, then you've got to deal with it. So
But when you were going through your miscarriage, okay,
yeah.
did you have anybody around you that you could lean on and say, "Yo, I'm struggling today," you know?
No, and I didn't need that either.
So what
The
was
reason why I'm saying I didn't need it is because I know that the world doesn't know how to deal with it. And when I say the world doesn't know how to deal with it, women don't know how to deal with
Yeah.
it, and men don't know how to
Yeah.
deal with it. You know, if you go to your woman and you say, "Oh man, I'm struggling, I'm going through this and I'm going through that," it makes you look weak. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. You
Yeah.
can't find a solution to your problem. You go to your brethren, you say, "Yo, brethren, I'm going through this." What your brethren's gonna do is like, "All right, cool, brother. Let's go find a distraction. Let's go find some gal.
I don't know, you know.
Let's go."
I don't know.
This is
Depends, yeah.
this is what I've noticed. And then I have been a part of men's circles,
Yeah.
and I have been around men, and I have spoken my emotions.
Yeah.
But then after, do I feel
Yeah.
better? No, I don't. The only thing that makes me feel better is transmutation of emotions.
What do you mean by that?
The transmutation. So it's like, first of all, it's acknowledging that something's wrong. Yeah. Second, can I find a solution, and how soon can I find a solution to do it? Third, how can I transmute this energy
Into something.
and turn it into an energy
Yeah.
that's going to help me to become a better individual? That might mean gym, that might mean a run, that might mean I might have to go to MMA, might make music. But what I've realized is what's helped me as a man is not going to talk to loads of men, unless I'm talking to a man that's going to be like, "Yo, try this,
Yeah.
try this solution." What's helped me is, "Yo, let me go and deal with this energy and transmute this energy so that I can, like,
Deal with it.
I can be in
Calm
a
it.
better place, not suppress the energy."
Okay.
Because I think that, you know, suicide rates amongst men is very high right now.
79%.
I think that's because of suppression.
Yeah.
That's because, you know what, forget this. I'm going to suppress it. I'm not going to deal with it. And I'm just going to get on with life. And it grows and it grows and it grows until it's something that you now can't deal with.
But how long have you had that mindset? Because remember, you're 38-year-old young man right now.
Yeah.
So you've got, and I know that you're not a typical 38-year-old man. Like, I know you're busy, bro. I know you're grinding.
Yeah.
I know you're not scared of doing the work. So at what point did you analyze or accept the fact that you deal with your own emotions when there's a struggle in this way?
When I realized that nobody's going to save you, bro.
And how old was you when you?
I think I've always known it, but I think it's after lockdown I knew it more so. Because in lockdown, you couldn't go out, you couldn't do nothing. You are dealing with yourself, and there's nothing that anybody else could do about it.
So 4 years, we're saying.
I think that's when I actively started
Yeah.
really focusing on it and stopped looking outside of myself for a solution.
Looked in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because before I was looking outside.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to be here. I need to be connected to this, or I need to go out to this, or I need to be. This is something outside of me is gonna define me.
Yeah.
But then when I realized that nothing outside of you is gonna save you, it's not gonna save you. It's good to talk. It's good to have men's groups. It's good to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, the final decision to change and make a difference has to be down to you. You can take a horse to a water, but you can't make the horse drink.
Yeah.
So there's some man that you can talk to all day long, but inside of them, they don't want to make the change, or they don't want to face that trauma. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
You can only help someone that is willing and ready to help themselves.
Massive. But you're willing to.
Yeah, 100%.
This is literally the bit that I really want to get across here is what we have here is not an ordinary man. We have a man who has gone through experiences in life. He's hyper focused at stuff, and then he's come out of it, seen it for what it is, and hyper focused on something else. So there would have been a point, if I'm wrong, just let me know. There would have been a point where you hyper focused on leaning on someone else. There has to have been.
100%.
And then you probably have realised that didn't work, so then you had to come back out of it.
It never worked. I'm the oldest of 8. It's never worked. It's never worked.
All right, so we just had a quick coffee break. This is the first time I've ever used one of these, and yeah, won't be the last. All right, so you were speaking about the fact of you are the first of 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was childhood like for you?
I was the only child for a long time. You know, I used to love music. You know, I used to travel with my mum, did poetry with my mum. My mum lived in England, innit?
Yeah.
My dad lived in America.
America.
Yeah. We all used to live in America, but then things happened.
So were you born in America?
No, I was born in England.
Born in England.
Then we went to America to live. Things happened.
Yeah.
And then, you know, now I'm living with mum in England.
How old was you when you came back to England?
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe like between 4 and 6.
Oh, very young.
Yeah, it's all like flashbacks in my head right now. But then the plan was, everything was blessed. You know, I used to talk to my dad on the phone all the time. It was a good relationship. You know what I mean? Everything was nice. And then the plan was for me to move back to America to go live with my dad.
Mad.
But one day I come home from school, mum's bawling. Dad's died of a heart attack, you get me? So we've had to go
Your dad died of a heart attack?
Yeah, died of a heart attack at 36.
36?
Yeah. So I've outlived my father by 2 years now. Do you get me?
So you're 11 and you've
11.
come back from school.
Yeah.
And you just found out that your dad has just died from a heart attack.
Yeah. And then the following week we were in America at the funeral. Yeah. So
do you even remember your thought path at that time?
Yeah, I do. What was so strange about that situation is, remember Patrick Swayze, Ghost?
No.
There's a film by Patrick Swayze called Ghost, you get me? And he's died, but he's still around his family and that. Do you know what I'm saying? And he can see them, but they can't see him. But I think the woman, like his girl, feels his presence. Yeah. So because I watched that at a young age, I always lived my life like, yo, I'm not gonna be broken. Yeah. Because imagine if my pops could still see me.
Mad.
I'd want him to be on the other side, like, yo, that's my son now, I'm proud of him. So I always just used to want to be overachieving. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just making my pops proud and just doing the best that I could. That's kind of how I dealt with it as a child. Growing up and then having relationships, then I realized that, there's issues there that you're going to have to work on. There's things that you're going to have to accept. There's traumas that you're going to have to unpack in order to improve your relationship. Yeah. So as a kid, childhood was great. Do you know what I mean? But growing up, then I realized that there were voids that needed to be filled. Do you know what I mean? So
that's massive, that is.
Yeah.
It always, all I keep hearing in my head is, willing to do the work, willing to do the work, willing to do the work.
100%, you have to be, man.
Was your dad an overachiever?
My dad was a preacher. He was an overachiever, but he was a preacher. He had his own church. So imagine now, my dad lives in America, and I had a good relationship with my father, but I didn't know him the depth. I didn't really get to how how you might have a relationship with your dad, and it's we didn't really. I'm 11. I didn't really get to that point. Yeah. But every time I used to go to America every year, and every time I used to go to America, I'd be like, yo, your dad was the man. Like, your dad was this guy. Your dad did this for me. Your dad did that. Like, your dad was this kind of brother. Like, just me hearing about my dad, it was just this great man. And everybody used to speak highly of him. Even to this day, people speak really highly of my father. Do you know what I mean? So I got to know my dad more after he passed through the relationships that he had with people
Look at that.
than when he was alive. And I think I tried to my best to live up to it in the best way that I could. Do you know what I mean?
Let's live in that moment again.
Yeah.
It's massive, that is.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, yeah.
That the element of a true legacy.
Yeah, 100%.
Even when I am gone, I am still remembered.
100%.
That's powerful, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that literally would set any man who's willing to do the work
Yeah.
up in such a secure place for life.
Yeah, I think that was a good situation. The mythology of it was good, but then the reality
That
of
you
the
lived in.
situation, is a completely different situation. Because I had to then learn what it is to be a man. Still learning, but I had to learn that on my own, because a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. It doesn't matter what you do.
Doesn't matter how we pretty this up.
You can't do it.
You cannot do that.
A lot of them try though.
You can try.
So much, like they feel like they can do it on their own, but there's nothing like a man's presence in a child's life. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
It's an incredible thing. You know, I have nephews, and sometimes they're running wild, and nieces, they're running wild, and you know, their mums and my aunties and my sisters can't really control them. But then me and my brother walk in at, yo, sit down
Straight away.
That's it. It's done. You get me?
Straight
And that's
away.
the power of like the male presence in a child's life. And I don't think I really had that strong enough. So I had to look for it in so many different ways. Negative.
Did you
and
find
positive.
that in any other men?
So there was my Uncle Don.
Yeah.
I had an Uncle Don who was a Rasta. And my Uncle Don was a very good role model. I think what Uncle Don showed me is the importance of like family. So Uncle Don used to come to my yard, collect all of the kids, and then take us to see uncle, cousin, all of that. We would have to see everyone. This is your uncle. That's your cousin. So through Uncle Don, we were able to see everyone. And then, you know, I think then the next example of men was like secondary school and the gangsters and the thugs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you feel protected. Like I was the music man. I used to make the beats and the rhymes. So because I used to make beats for the man them, in return, man would be protected. Like nobody can't touch me because I make the beats for the man them. But then, you know, that came with the protection and the feeling of a certain level of security. But then I think that's where I learned addiction to, you know, weed and drink and being waved and rolling with the man them. And then that's something that I also had to unlearn because it wasn't serving me. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot of procrastination. There was a lot of laziness. And I've got big dreams to be successful. And I knew that me smoking weed and drinking and going out and partying is not going to take me there. Do you know what I mean? So I had to come out of that. And then the next process was reaching out to the elders, like Makapi Selassie, like Martin Glynn, like older men that were like, could help. Do you know what I mean? And I learned a lot of things about relationships through older men, but still there was that intergenerational conflict. And as of recently, I think just being by myself and being on my own and moving out, that's when I really had to learn the hard lessons. And the one thing that's really helped me more than anything is I've reverted to Islam, you get me? And what I love about Islam is Islam taught me discipline, do you know what I mean? And accountability. Because I got to pray 5 times a day.
5 times a day.
And I'm always on my way to another prayer. So whatever you're doing in between each prayer, you better think twice about what you're doing. Because before every prayer, you got to do wudu, you got to wash. Do you get me?
You got to do the work.
So you have to, you got to make sure that all of your actions are like
aligned,
because you can either easily segue into your next prayer, or you can make it very complicated for yourself. Also, Islam's really good with relationships, family, taking care of yourself, Like, it's really helped to keep me accountable and keep me disciplined and keep me focused when I'm a very free-spirited person. And I think because now that is my foundation, it's now moving into other areas of my life, business, my relationships with the young people that I work with, my relationships with my own family, how I treat women and respect women. There's a different level now.
I heard today, I can't remember if it was Joe, I think it was Joe Rogan. He said that the most focused athletes are those who hold a religion. Because what they do is they abide by what their religion says, and then they become super hyper focused on just training. There's no distraction.
Yeah.
So when you speak about your religion, like I understand completely that you are now standing before us, a man who has done the work and will continue to do that.
100%. I think just acknowledging higher power is important as well.
Yeah.
We worship a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, even people who are non-religious, like, sometimes you really have to think about that. Are you non-religious? Because sometimes people worship their phone and their social media, and they worship the stars that they really like. There's a lot of distractions out there. And I think what's beautiful about Islam is the fact that 5 times a day, I can just be like, you know what? Right now, for 5 minutes, it's God's time, the source's time, whatever you want to call the creator. It's the creator's time. And in this moment of time, I'm going to acknowledge that there is a creator. I'm going to acknowledge that presence. I'm going to be grateful and say thank you to that presence. And it just reminds me that I'm a part of something bigger.
Bigger than
so
what
when
you-
I come out of that prayer, how I feel is I feel a massive sense of purpose. Do you know what I mean? And I'm constantly reminded of that 5 times a day.
5 times.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful. And I was a person who's, I would never become a part of a religion ever.
Yeah.
Religion is controlling the, you know what I mean? I was that guy. But what I found through it, beautiful. Yeah.
So when we go into the element of men's struggle, what do you think a common struggle is for a man? A man above 30, I feel like that would be, like, I've just turned 31.
It's a big question still. It's a big question that requires a lot of different answers depending on what lane you're going down. Because there's the perspective of men, there's the perspective of women, there's the perspective of children,
Yeah.
and then there's the perspective of
Everyone else.
yes. So I'm going to bring it to its simplest form. First thing I want to talk about is biology, right? I think that when it comes to biology determines the role of the man. Why? Because at the end of the day, we're biological creatures, sexual creatures, and it's very much about attraction. Do you know what I mean? If you look into the animal kingdom, it's going to be the strongest male lion is the one who's going to be the alpha male of the pride. If you look if you think about birds and you think about peacocks, it's going to be the male peacock with the biggest display that can do the best dance. He's the one that's going to... the antelope with the biggest horns. So that can look different in a variety of different situations. Now, I feel like, speaking primitively, the man who's going to be the most manly, masculine, alpha male of the environment is going to be the one who, if I'm a woman and I'm going to be 9 months pregnant, this means that I'm going to be vulnerable and in danger. This means a predator can come and kill me. Another man can come in here and try to take me away.
Yeah.
And take what we have. So in order for my offspring to be safe, I need to find the man that's going to be able to protect me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So in that environment, being a man means either being the strongest or being aligned with the strongest, because it's a matter of survival, right? Okay, fast forward to 2024. It's a whole different thing. Though I think our primitive behavior is still a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like we like women with long hair. The reason why we like women with long hair is because on a biological subconscious level, we know, okay, if I breed with the woman that's got long hair and she's the prettiest, then my offspring's got more chance of
having
reproducing.
yeah.
The women like men who are tall. The reason why women like men who are tall is because if he's taller, that means he's going to be stronger, will be able to run faster, and my children will have more of a chance of reproducing because they'll all be tall like him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think those things are still present, but I think that influence and money is the difference now.
Do you believe that that's part of the struggle?
I think the struggle of a lot of men, one of the struggles is, do I have enough money to provide?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To provide stability and security and take care of myself and take care of a whole family. Because you're living in a world where, especially if you're like working class or lower middle class, you know, if you're not able to provide for the woman can be like, well, scrap you.
Yeah.
The government will be my man.
The safety blanket is a lot more safer to access.
So when you're working class or lower middle class, your first struggle is being more masculine than the government.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, your woman is going to disrespect you and get what she needs to get from the government, because it will assist her in disrespecting you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there is an agenda to break the family, to control people, which I don't want to get too much into because I'm not into the conspiracy theories too much. Then I think the second thing is, once you're up there and you've started to make a bit of money now, and you're around like 30 to like maybe like 60,000 a year, then you're dealing with the competition. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of women out there now. Social media means, you know, I don't want to do too much. Social media.
Yeah,
go on.
That's the thing, innit? Social media now.
Yeah.
Can literally tell you that you can be whatever you want. So when we're looking at competition now as a man, we're no longer looking at each other. We're looking at everybody.
Yeah.
Even like if we look at YouTube, yeah. I have a nephew. We're about to set up his YouTube channel. I'm telling you, this little nephew's gonna blow. He's 8.
Yeah.
I know for a fact by the time he reaches my age, he's gonna be whopped up. Because society now is so accessible to be famous or to trend that everybody's taking an opportunity.
Yeah.
So the provider role started off with the man, then it went to the woman. Now it's going to children.
No, I didn't even think about it like that. It's so difficult to just be real in this day and age. Being a man or being masculine and, you know, standing on business and having your boundaries and not taking no foolishness and meeting your goals and eliminating your desires and your distractions makes you public enemy number one. Until you've achieved it. Once you've achieved it, it's a whole different ball game.
Listen, do we want to go there? This is the thing. Like the problem that we have right now is that we have two men right now who have life experience.
Yeah.
But we also have two men who have done the work and still continue to do the work.
Yeah, it never stops.
Never stops. So we have to be very, very, very careful in this podcast, because we could easily go. You get me? We could easily do that. Because all we're having is a real conversation. And let's not get it twisted. This is the second time I've ever met you. So if we're having this great conversation the second time, what happens the third? What happens the fourth? What happens the fifth?
100%.
So I want to divert this right the way back into this topic. Men's mental health.
Yeah.
So, you know, life right now will cause us to be distracted. It's causing us now to understand that the masculinity that once was our identity is now changing.
The perspective on it is changing.
Yeah, the perspective.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think that in order to be, this is a very controversial. I don't know if it's controversial, but like, I think a lot of us are just scared of how the world perceives us. We want validation. We're scared to be the villain. Most masculine figures, you watch any film or you look through history, the most masculine brother is the one who's not scared of being the villain. You can't. We love deep down. We love the villain.
Yeah.
When we watch films, when we watch a film, we love the villain. But because people want to fit in and, you know, like be accepted and be liked because we're social creatures, we're scared of being the villain.
Yeah.
And I don't have that fear anymore. And I think going back to what we were saying before is that I think the first stage of evolving past the man's struggle, because we're talking about solutions here.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to talk about the problems, but where are the solutions? I think the first stage is know yourself. And when people say that all the time, but it's like not just know yourself, but get to know yourself.
How do you do that?
Have a relationship with yourself. It's very easy. Think about what it takes to have a harmonious relationship with your woman. You get me? Or your man, depending on who's listening. You know, you got to spend time with your woman. You've got to be attentive to your woman. You've got to, you know, go out on dates, do things where you can bond and get to know each other. You've got to build an element of trust. You've got to spend time with the woman. Do you know what I mean? That's how you conduct a harmonious relationship. It's the same thing that you have to do for yourself. A lot of people will do it for someone else, but not do it for themselves. So how do I spend time with myself? Are you able to be alone without being lonely? Are you able to, you know, because sometimes your thoughts can be loud and it can be scary listening to your own thoughts. But actually having a good relationship with yourself is about intentively listening to yourself, being the one to listen. You know, like how you're sitting here right now and I'm speaking and you're listening to me. I feel heard. Sometimes you need to feel heard by yourself. Then when it comes, I think another part of that as well is understanding that once you've listened to yourself and you've intentively listened to yourself, you're going to hear what your needs are.
See that? Power. That's powerful. That right there is powerful. Something happened recently. And loads of people around me were like, yo, can do this? I said, no. I want to feel it at its worst. Let me feel this at its worst. Every day I'm going to show up. I don't need support with this, but let me feel this at its worst. People are like, I can do this, I can do that. No. Let me feel this at its worst, because I want to be able to know that's what happened and I dealt with that. And I felt it and I made a very conscious effort of handling this situation the way that I believed was best, which is show up every single day and feel it. And the problem that we have, or the problem that I know some people have, is that they're not willing to actually acknowledge what's going on at that moment.
Yeah.
They may not acknowledge it physically, but they may acknowledge it mentally. And what I mean by that is physically they won't show up to work because work's getting hard. But emotionally, they're going to be in bed. Oh my God, like this is really hurting me. But physically, you weren't present. Let me physically be present. Let me emotionally be present too. Then, because life is a training ground, I will then be able to educate somebody else who is going through this in a few years or a few months from now. So when I speak with people about life experience, I don't just give them what life experience I had from an emotional perspective. I will tell you physically as well how I was in that position.
Yeah, they say that the man who meditates in the mountain is powerful.
Bro.
But the one who meditates in the marketplace is even more powerful.
Power.
It's about how a man's superpower is his ability to protect his peace and be calm without hurting anybody else in his environment. So I feel like one thing that I do is I face the things that make me uncomfortable with the intention of trying to find the calmness in it. Like, you know, if we play music right now and this room is filled with music, but if you really focus, you can still hear the silence in the room. It's that. So, you know, one of the things that I want to bring, because right now it's snowing outside, you get me? And I used to hate the cold. I used to tense up. I used to get frustrated. It would just make me upset. And then I was like, you know what? I tried to swim in cold water. Nah, I was in shock. I tried to do the ice baths, not having it. And then I did a little bit of research.
Nice.
I did a little bit of research, and I learned that, I learned about Hoffman, and I learned that, like, yo, when you tense up, you're telling your body that it's panic. So what happens is you begin to panic and your body becomes into shock. But when you relax in the cold, then your body goes, oh, it's cold, let me warm up. So when I went into the ice bath the first time, I did 2 minutes, it was difficult. Then I did 5 minutes. And then what I found is that after you get past a certain level, or if you're swimming in cold water, after 12 strokes, your body just acclimates and starts to adjust to the changes. But that only happens when you're able to be calm. So men have to be able to find where your peace is.
Yeah.
For some men, it's right in arm's reach. You can see it. For some, you're gonna have to dig deep, and dig through a lot of traumas and stuff in order to find it. But even when I feel like emotionally I want to explode, or I'm angry and I want to do something destructive, it's like, where's the calmness? Let me make a decision from that place. Because as a man, you can't make a decision from emotion. We kill people, we destroy the world, we destroy things when we do that. And that destruction's not good. We need to create.
Yeah.
And you can only do that from that place, and you have to find it, whether it's therapy, whether it's martial arts. You gotta find your thing that takes you to the calm, and preferably something that's not like
harmful,
a drug. Like, you know what I mean? Because as a man as well, this is some people will agree, some people won't, and some people need certain things in order to help them to have, or they feel like they need it to help them have a calm mind. Yeah. But I think that as a man, you have to find a way to overcome your desires. Yeah. Because if you're not able to overcome your desires, you'll need a spliff to be calm. You'll need to drink, or you'll need to have sex in order to feel calm. If you can't overcome your, and I'm not perfect, if you can't find a way to overcome your desires, then your desires will control you. When shit hits the fan, when things get difficult, you're going to turn to the thing that's going to distract you when really you need to be facing that thing. So yeah, those are the two things I would say.
I I heard the saying before, and it says a true leader will be able to make a decision no matter the emotion.
100%.
That's again something that I live by. All right, so hit me with it. Solutions. There are going to be men watching this and young boys who are looking up to you, like, hit me with some solutions. Like, how can they be somewhat of a man just like yourself? How do they get there? How do they face being in a dark place and coming out of that?
I think we can break it down to physical, mental, spiritual, and let's start with those three. I think physical is the first thing. You've got to be strong in body. Yeah, I think that is so important. Something that really helped me get through life was knowing that when nothing was going right, I could go to the gym, because the gym was my therapy. That was how I would transmute my anger. I was very angry when I was younger. The gym was like, instead of me cussing that person or fighting that person, I'd save it, and I'd go to the gym and I'd be like, fucking cunt, like when I'm at the gym. So that really helped. And then seeing my body change through diet and through training was the first thing that really helped me.
Step one.
Why is that the case? Because when you go to the gym's the first place that would teach you that success is born from failure. So you have to fail on purpose in order to become successful. And that is a mantra or a symbol for life. If you want to be successful in life, you won't be successful in life unless you're willing to fail on purpose. So the physical is the first one, which then brings you to mental. Because in order to do the physical thing, mentally, you have got to motivate yourself to do it and stick to it. And it's fine, because sometimes you might do it for 2 weeks and you might fall off. Yeah. And then you get back on the bike again, and then you do it for 2 weeks and you might fall off. And you might do that for a whole year. Yeah. But then, like, in my own experience, and I was like, you know what? I always quit after 2 weeks. What I'm going to do to get to the next level? Let me try and stick to a month. And then that in itself is an achievement. Now I'm just consistently on it, but it took a whole journey to get there. But mentally, you have to be willing to get there. And then when you fail, go back and reflect, and then come back stronger and find the solution. Spiritual, I think you need some kind of spiritual discipline, whether it's meditation, prayer, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's a walk on your own in the park, just somewhere where you can be in your own silence and you can clear your mind, because clarity of mind will allow you to make better decisions, you know, rather than having a clouded mind. And then the fourth thing is, I would approach all three of those things with the inquisitiveness of a child. Never lose your child. You know, when you talk to a child and the child asks you a question, why is this like this? And then you answer the question and then they say, but why? And then you answer that question and then they say, but why?
7 whys.
Yeah, you got to do that to yourself.
Yeah.
Why did I react like that in that situation? Why? Like, what I found a lot when it came to my relationships with women back in the day, it was always had something to do with my mum, my aunties, or my sister. Because I found that when I had good relationships with women, they were good with the women close in my family. When it was bad with them, that reflected to the outside world. So I really found out that everything comes down to all your relationships with the men in your life will normally come down to the first relationships that you had with men or you didn't have.
Yeah.
All of your relationships with women in your life will always normally come down to your mums and then what you do with that is your decision. Because, you know, you can have 2 twin brothers now and they both maybe had a deadbeat father who didn't take care of them. One can turn around and repeat his father's behavior, but then the other one will say, my children will never have to go through that. Yeah. So the final decision is yours. Whether it ends up being positive or negative, that was your decision. You can't blame it on that. You make the final decision.
Got to stand on job.
Yeah, you got to stand on business and make if you want to make the decision to do worse, you can do that. But you can also make the decision to do better.
And did you know that your lack of decision making is also a decision?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
That's what people fail to understand.
100%.
If I don't make a choice and I just say, I'm just going to go with the flow, you made a choice.
100%. 100%.
So if you chose to say, today I'm going to change it, and you change it, you've made a choice. But also if you say, today I'm just going to go with the flow, you also made a choice.
Yeah. But what's beautiful is what I really want to share with the man them is that, and the women them, if you resonate with it, is that if you made a decision to make a change, but you failed because you didn't have the information and the tools, that's okay. Yeah. It's okay to get it wrong. Like, we need to, living in a world where filters and Instagram means that you can have this perspective of being perfect. Yeah. We live in a world where everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be right. It's okay to get it wrong as long as you're able to sit back and reflect on why it went wrong and what adjustment can you make to make it right, and then be willing and active to be willing to go out there and try the thing that's going to make you uncomfortable. Get used to being uncomfortable. Get used to being out of your comfort zone, because it's there where you're going to evolve. All evolution and all greatness is not pretty. Like a caterpillar has to literally destroy itself and become nothing in order to recalibrate into a butterfly, you get me? So unless you're willing to die in order to be born again, whatever that might mean.
It's true though.
Yeah.
If you ain't willing to, the life that you're looking to live requires you to kill some habits.
Yeah.
But if you aren't willing to address the habits, whether that be you're not educated enough to know how to address it, or whether that be the fact that you're not willing or strong enough to address it, you will never get to that destination. I know a lot of people who wait at bus stops but don't know what time the bus is coming. But by luck, it comes.
Yeah.
Whether you believe it or not, that bus is going to come. But if you were smart enough to just research what time that was going to get there, you're going to save a lot of time.
Yeah.
The problem that we have with society right now is, I'm not going to look at what I need to do to get to where I'm going to get to. I'm just going to look at the people who are already there, and I'm going to pretend that I'm there. A coach, a business coach that I used to have, told me, "Fake it till I make it." I started doing that. That's the worst thing I ever did.
Oh, well, you got to keep it real, man.
I got to keep it real.
Yeah.
So now I show people when I fail.
Yeah.
And when I fail, I make sure that I fail and I show them.
You see, that brings me to such a beautiful thing, which is going to be a whole different conversation in itself, but I just want to touch on it, especially when we're raising our children. A lot of the time when we're raising our children, I have no children yet, but I work with so many children. Yeah. That one thing I see is that when parents raising their children, they only show their children the good parts of the relationship. They don't show them the conflict. They do that behind their children's back. And they don't show them the conflict resolution. So a lot of us are growing up not knowing conflict resolution.
It's normal.
So, mommy and daddy, we had an argument about this, and this is how we solved the situation. So that when the child has relationships out there, the child knows, okay, I'm having a disagreement. I'm having a conflict right now. They don't have that blank period like mom and dad weren't talking, and now they're talking. What happened between mom and dad not talking to the point where they're talking? That's where the learning is. So I think it's very important that we number one, learn conflict resolution, because you have to know yourself to be able to do that. And number two, also teach conflict resolution, because I think we would have much better relationships and interactions if we learn conflict resolution. And as men and the man's struggle, we've got to learn how to resolve and facilitate that, because there's this thing in me and I'm feeling this and I don't know how to, nobody won't listen to me. And that's the other thing I wanted to say to you. Like early on in this conversation, I was talking about like that I had to transmute my own situations as a man in order to learn stuff. But what these conversations made me realize is the reason why that is because I felt like nobody was listening to me. So an evolution in this conversation, and something that I'm learning right now, is that actually as men going through a struggle, it's important that we listen to each other. Not listen to speak, but actually intentively listen. Because me speaking to you now and you listening, I'm feeling heard. And you know what? It feels good. And that's made me realize that actually maybe I was just around the wrong people. Because when you're speaking and you're being heard and someone else is speaking and you're listening with intention, I think I think as men, we need more of that. Don't distract me. Listen to me. Really listen. Do you know what I mean? I think that would help a lot if men that are struggling were being heard